Happy Halloween, everyone. Hope your day's off to a good start. Hope you guys have some really fun plans for Halloween, even with all this COVID bullshit going on. Today we're rolling around in the Spider-Man suit, spreading a little bit of Halloween joy. And I figured I'll do a little bit of a Halloween special for you guys. I'm gonna go around Lincoln to a bunch of different places that are haunted, kind of tell you about some of the experiences and the stories behind them. And in between the different locations, I'll tell you guys about some different ghost stories that me and my family have had, like growing up and stuff. So we're on our way to the first location, which is called Old Captain's Studio. Now, I don't know if it's still occupied, but there was a law firm here in Lincoln that used to take over that space. But so we aren't quite there yet. So for now, I'll just kind of tell you a little story about when I was growing up. I went on a trip to Omaha with my parents back when I was in 7th grade, I believe. And we went to this museum, which was like an old railroad museum. So they had like a bunch of old trains and a bunch of old stuff from, you know, like back in like the 1800s when railroads were like, you know, a really big thing. But there's this one room in particular that had like, you know, a velvet rope along like the one side of the wall, like keeping all the displays and stuff in, and, you know, like kind of keeping people out. But in the back corner there was a door. Like when I was in there, like I was alone, my parents were looking at something else, but I was in that room and just that door kept drawing my attention. It wasn't very well lit, you know, it was kind of darker, but just like that one door, I just kept feeling something weird coming from that door, and like it gave me weird feelings. My parents actually felt the same thing, because then later they went there and they were like, yeah, that door was giving me the creeps. So my dad looked up. There's actually a paranormal investigation team that went to that place, and on one of their cameras they actually captured a figure standing in that door. So it's just kind of weird that like we were like all three of us, because I'm an only child, it's just me and my two parents that were there, we were all three able to pick up on that vibe. But so we are almost to Old Captain Studio / Barry Law Firm. The story behind that, the reason that it's called Old Captain Studio was there was an old retired sea captain that occupied the apartment in the upstairs of this building, and he passed away in that building. And he still haunts that building to this day. So people that go in there, whether it's you know, the people who work for this Barry Law Firm place, or just people who go in there as customers or to get tours or anything, have reported seeing the figure of the old captain walking around. My dad, he works for a company that goes around and like repairs office equipment, like the big industrial copiers that can print out, you know, like 1,000 pages a minute or whatever. Barry Law Firm was one of his clients, and he, okay, here it is on the left, I believe. Yep, this is it right here on this left corner right here. So the old man lived up in the upstairs there, and like I said, he passed away there. But anyway, so my dad worked for a company that would work on their equipment, and he said numerous times he would be in there working on something. Out of the corner of his eye, he would see somebody kind of like looking around the corner at him, and he would turn to look at it and there wouldn't be anything there. And he said this would happen multiple times, and he talked to the people there and they were like, yeah, all the time we see this dude walking around. This is for number 2 on our list. It is actually right next door here. It is Nebraska Wesleyan University. This was something that I had read about in a book. It's called Ghosts of Lincoln, or like the Guide to Ghosts of Lincoln, and it talks about a bunch of different haunted places here in Lincoln, and one of them on the list was Nebraska Wesleyan. The story is that in the music department, there's so obviously, like most universities, there's like separate buildings to everything. I'm not for sure where the music department is, so I'm just gonna kind of like roll around here. For the music department, the story, I don't know if this was like somebody had passed away, or if it was like this building previously was used as something else. A lot of the times people would walk by and they would see a figure of a woman standing in the window, even when the building isn't occupied, like on off days, like weekends, or when like the college is shut down at the end of the day, they would see a figure of a woman in the window. Well, there was somebody who was trying to figure out what it was, so they actually went into that building. They went into the room that the woman would have been in, and it was like the dude stepped in a fucking time portal. He was like, he walked through that door and the entire room changed. So like all the bookshelves and stuff that the books were on were gone. The room was like a complete different color. He was like, it was like he went in a time machine. But when he went in that room, he didn't see the woman. It was just like he stepped back in time to a completely different era. Okay, so we're on our way to number 3 on the list. Another little story of growing up, ghost experience that I had. This was actually one that my dad and I kind of had together. They were like connected, but so the house that I grew up in, I'll kind of have to like explain to you guys like the layout. The staircase to our basement is right next to our upstairs, like or I guess let me rephrase that. The staircase to our basement is like connected to our living room. And my dad had his like recliner chair kind of like sitting up against the staircase wall. So there's like a little like half wall next to our staircase. I was downstairs at one point in time, so like where the staircase exits, there's like a little family room right down there where we have like a TV and our pool table and stuff like that. So I was downstairs watching TV, and in the shadow against the wall, I saw the wall against the TV. So like I'm looking at the TV on the wall, I see a shadow of somebody kind of like look around the corner at me. I turned around, I looked, there wasn't anything there, so I didn't really think anything of it. At the same time that happened, my dad heard somebody like slowly walking up the stairs. And he turns around because he thought it was me, and like he thought I was gonna try and scare him. He turns around, there wasn't anybody on the stairs. Now, where that figure, like peering around the corner at me, would have been right where the staircase was. So there was something up again, or like, you know, on those stairs. And like I said, it was at the same exact time. So it's like, you know, if I had just seen that shadow, I probably wouldn't have thought anything of it. I would have thought like, okay, you know, maybe there was like a window, you know, like into our basement, like there was like an animal or something that walked by or whatever. It's like, I wouldn't have thought anything of it. But the fact that my dad also heard somebody walking up the stairs, you know, it's just kind of like that connected experience. Like, okay, yeah, that's a little creepy. Okay, so we're coming up on item 3 on our list, which yeah, no ghost story video would be complete without a cemetery. So this is Wayland Cemetery on my right hand side here, not to be confused with the cemetery which is across the street on the left hand side. But here on the right hand side, this is Wayland Cemetery. It is a very, very old cemetery. I believe it was founded in like 1865 or something like that. There's a lot of actually really cool, interesting facts about this cemetery. A lot of really interesting people are buried here. This cemetery actually holds a lot of history, and the cemetery actually does offer tours. I have taken the tour before, and yeah, like I said, there's a lot of really interesting facts and a lot of really actually like kind of famous people. I'm not talking like actors or musicians or anything like that, but there was this guy buried here that actually helped the Wright brothers design and build their first plane. He's buried here. Charles Starkweather, the infamous serial killer, he is also buried here. But so the stories that go on here, people see a lot of figures walking around. I mean, that's kind of, you know, a given with any cemetery. You're gonna see figures and stuff like that. There are objects that are just known to like randomly appear on a couple of the headstones. It's not just like a random thing like you know, on just like regular people's headstones, but I can't remember what the objects are, but there's like 2 graves in here that I've heard that like objects will just appear. Like, it's obvious, like, you know, any of their family is gone, so it's not like somebody's just leaving flowers on a grave. It's more of like, these are headstones from like the 1800s. There's like no family left of these people, It's just like a random object. Like I said, it's not, I don't remember exactly what it is, but it's just kind of weird how it's like, you know, every time they take something off, it just like magically reappears. But so my mom actually had an experience. Geez, this is a lot of shit on this road. So I'll kind of outline the way that this cemetery is laid out. So that road that we came in off of was O Street, and that's back over that way. If you go that way, there's Vine Street. So there's streets that border this cemetery. My mom takes Vine Street past this cemetery on her way to work every morning. So it's about 7:30 in the morning. I'll actually see if I can go up to where this would have happened at. Oh wow, yeah, there's a firefighters memorial here. There's also a Holocaust memorial somewhere, and there's like a really cool sculpture on it. Yeah, there's the World War II memorial over there. So anyway, my mom takes Vine Street past this cemetery every morning on her way to work. So she was going west, which is that way, and something caught her eye. She looked over here towards the cemetery, and she saw a figure of a very old man, like very gaunt, very faint, very skinny, very pale. A figure of a man sitting on a massive wooden trunk along the fence that borders Vine Street. And she was saying like an old wood trunk, you know, like a cedar one, which would be incredibly heavy for this man to carry. And he was just sitting on the trunk up against the fence looking across the street. And she said that he was wearing a ball cap, and so I couldn't really see his full face, but could tell from like his chin and his cheekbones and stuff that he was very frail. Yep, it was right over here, because she said it was across the street from the daycare. So it would be right here. She said that the man was sitting on this side of the fence, so on the cemetery side. He was sitting on a big wood trunk, just kind of like blank stare across the street. And she said he wasn't moving or anything, and she was kind of like weirded out by it. So on her way home from work, she said that like it was gone. She was like, it wasn't an electrical box or anything, because, you know, it was, you know, gone, obviously. But she's pretty sure that it was a ghost, because like I said, you know, there's been a lot of stories of people just seeing like weird stuff around here, you know, obviously given that it's a cemetery. But yeah, she's pretty sure that it was not just a person, because obviously, like, what would this dude be doing with a massive cedar trunk carrying it by himself? You know, like there was nobody else around there. And also, what would he be doing just sitting, you know, oddly on the inside of a cemetery? You know, like if this was like a homeless guy or something like that, first off, he probably wouldn't be carrying a giant cedar trunk, and also he wouldn't be inside the cemetery. You know, he'd be sitting on the sidewalk. Okay, I got 3 more places that I want to tell you guys about. So the first of those 3, so item 4, I think, on our list, is right there, the Nebraska State Capitol. If I can get a green light, I will ride past it and show you guys a little bit of a closer view. But I could kind of tell you the story of it a little bit here. So, shit, when was the state capitol built? I don't remember, because I'm not good with history. 1800s, maybe? I don't remember. But anyway, so the Nebraska State Capitol stands about 25 stories tall, somewhere around in there. And on the top, you'll see that there's a dome. And on top of that dome is the sower statue. It is a statue of a man who is throwing seeds. So he is standing there throwing seeds on the ground. Well, underneath that sower, on top of his pedestal, so basically the platform that he is standing on, is a light bulb. So obviously that light bulb needs changed from time to time. So there have been several people who go up there to change the light bulb and fall to their death. On top of that, there is a spiral staircase in the state capitol, which a woman has fallen off of to her death. So several people have died in and around the state capitol property. So throughout the years, many people have reported seeing the ghosts of these people. There is also the belief that the land that the state capitol is built on is a sacred Indian ground. And so people who work in the state capitol, so government employees, and also you can go in the state capitol just as a visitor and like get tours of it and stuff. Yeah, a lot of people report seeing figures, they report hearing things, overall feeling uneasy, cold spots, you know, a lot of the things that people will you know, kind of associate with ghosts. I have been in there a couple of times. I have not experienced anything myself. However, I think my mom worked in the state capitol for a little while. She worked for the government. Actually, she still technically does, but she doesn't work in the state capitol anymore. But I know she has reported seeing like some figures out of the corner of her eye and stuff like that. So yeah, that is the story on the state capitol. Next place that we actually have coming up fairly quick, it's just down the road here a little bit, is Antelope Park. I believe Antelope Park actually holds, it's either the United States, I wouldn't believe it'd be the world record. I want to say it's just the United States record for the largest playground equipment. But the story there, I don't know why this place is haunted. I don't know the story behind the person who died there or whatever, but people will constantly see the same exact thing. I'm coming up on it here pretty quick. It'll be on the right hand side. I'll actually pull in there and show you about where people report seeing this, but they report seeing around nighttime. I think it usually only happens around 11 o'clock at night, so it's pretty dark. But they will see a figure of a man walking across this little grassy field area and will disappear right before he hits the tree line. So you know how normally, like when you see somebody walk behind trees, you can still see them like behind the trees, and that's not the case with this. These people, like this guy will disappear like probably maybe a good like 10 feet before the tree line. So it's not like he's walking behind anything, but there have been many stories of people seeing this sort of thing. Like I said, I'm gonna kind of pull through there and show you about where people will see this at. Okay, so it's this little field right here. So they'll see a guy that walks across this field and disappears right along. There's a really thick tree line over there. It's almost kind of like this dude. Like they'll see this guy walk, and he'll get to right over here by the trees, and then they'll just like stop seeing him. But so that is the story of Antelope Park. Like I said, I'm not really sure how this guy like passed away or anything like that. Like if it was like he lived in like one of these houses over here and passed away in the house. Okay, so I actually lied to you guys. I'm going to hit 2 more places simply because they are on the way to each other. So hopefully this isn't going to make the video too terribly long for you guys. Hope this is kind of some interesting stuff. You know, kind of a neat little topic. So the first of the last 2 places I'm going to hit, so I believe number 6? I believe it's number 6. I don't know. I lost track. I'm really dumb. It's up over here. It's going to be on the right. I'll ride past it. It's another park. This place is called Lake Park. I'll put up a map of it because it's a long, it's weird. It's like, it's long yet skinny. That's what she said. It stretches across several city blocks. So the main area of it that people believe is haunted is right up this way. So it stretches out that direction and it keeps going this direction. So the area that people will see stuff is over here on the left. It's this area, I don't know if you can see it from here. I will get up closer. It's this area that's outlined by a bunch of bricks. Because the reason that this was called Lake Park was the fact that there used to be a big lake right here in the middle. So you can see how it's outlined by bricks, and there's a little island in the center. So this used to be a lake, and in wintertime it was an ice skating place. So there's actually 2 haunting stories here, 2 other separate ones. So there are 2 ghosts that people will commonly see in this park. The first one being a woman. So there was an old farmhouse. Now I need to figure out how the hell to get out of here. There was an old farmhouse which I believe has since been torn down, but before this was a park, So this lake, there was a house on it. There were these guys that tried to rob this house thinking that the woman wasn't there. So they broke in, and she came out to confront them, and they killed her. So that is the first ghost that people will commonly see. They will see a woman kind of like wandering around the park. Now, I've heard two kind of conflicting stories on this. One of them, I heard that they killed her in the house. The second one that I have heard was that she managed to escape and was running around outside of the house. You know, she had been stabbed a couple of times. So she was like running around trying to find help. So she was like, you know, running around like screaming for help. And then they chased after her and killed her. So people will either say they see the woman just kind of like meandering around, or they will say that they see her running around screaming for help. The second ghost is of a little boy who was at the park, and bullies came up and were beating him and ended up killing him. So people will also see the ghost of a little boy at that park. So for the last item on our list, it's right up over here on the right. Unfortunately, I am not able to get to it because they have it blocked off, but it is Robber's Cave. So Robber's Cave actually dates back, I'll kind of get you close to where it's at, but I can't get you super close. The entrance, or at least one of the entrances, is underneath this building here. So Robber's Cave dates back to the Native Americans that had settled this land. They used it for their ceremonies and such. It was also a place that the Underground Railroad, like a stop on the Underground Railroad, kind of as a little hideout point. And also, it is positioned in between the Nebraska State Penitentiary, which is just down that way, and there's also used to be a mental asylum, which I believe now is, oh shit, can't think of the name of it now. The regional center, like it's a hospital, like a mental hospital. I don't know if this was actually confirmed, it's just kind of a little folklore, but escaped inmates from both the prison and the mental hospital had been believed to take shelter or, you know, hide out in Robber's Cave and ended up dying there. So, along with all three of those stories, there are a lot of experiences and ghosts that people will see in Robber's Cave. Like I said, it is now closed off and it is only open to tours that you can go into. But many years ago, before that area had been like developed and purchased, people would just go down in there and explore. So some of the stories, people will hear Indian chanting and drums, like an Indian ceremony is going on down under there. And they will also just see figures of either prisoners, mental patients, or people who died during the Underground Railroad era. So people who go on the tour will sometimes see stuff, along with, you know, kids from back in like the 70s and 80s that would just go explore there. You know, it's kind of like a cool, scary thing. But guys, I hope you really enjoyed this video. I hope you learned some stuff and thought these stories were really cool. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel while you're at it. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you later.